Today's May 3rd, 2021. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, we're breaking down Senator Tim Scott's remarks about there not being racism in America. A lot of black people are mad because President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Congressman Jim Clyburn, when they were asked, agreed with Senator Tim Scott. I shall do a deconstruction for you to explain to you why white people in America are so sensitive and so fragile. That explains why Biden, Harris, and Clyburn could not dispute what Scott had to say. And I'll be joined by anti-racism educator Jane Elliott as well. Nicole Hannah-Jones, of course, the creator of the 1619 Project, will join us to react to Senator Mitch McConnell's call to remove that project from federal grant programs. Same thing, y'all. White people in America afraid to confront race. North Carolina, Andrew Brown Jr. was laid to rest today. We'll show you some of his funeral. And guess what? The white supremacist Stephen Miller, who worked for Donald Trump, is now suing the federal government because of the provision of black farmers getting $5 billion. And they're saying, oh, this is unfair because we're white. But they're overlooking the billion that they've gotten in American history. We'll be joined by the head of the National Black Farmers Association, John Boyd. Plus, racial disparities in healthcare, even in the emergency room. We'll talk to an ER doctor about a video that's gone viral of a white ER surgeon basically mocking a brother for his symptoms. In my book club segment, we have the author of Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend. Join us. Also in Fit, Live, Win, we'll talk about getting back in shape after a year on lockdown. And I'll share with you my return to TV One. Did I just say that? I'll explain. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
So for the last 5 days, folks have been up in arms because Senator Tim Scott, when he appeared to give the rebuttal speech, okay, on the night President Joe Biden spoke to Congress, he talked about there being no racism in America. This has led people all over to talk about that. This is what he had to say.
Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
Now, he has been ripped because of that. Now, here's the deal. Okay? President Joe Biden was asked about that. Vice President Kamala Harris was asked about that. Okay? So here is Vice President Kamala Harris. Y'all, let's get that soundbite ready. This is what happened when she was asked. Okay? Because it's again, though. See, y'all understand what happens is when somebody makes a comment like that, everybody and their mama want to ask everybody else, especially all the black people, to comment. So all of a sudden, she got asked about it, and people were like, oh, my goodness, I can't believe Senator Kamala Harris, she didn't sit here and she didn't condemn what he had to say. Do y'all have the soundbite? Okay, I don't understand why we don't have the soundbite. Do y'all have the one with Joe Biden comment about this? Okay, I don't understand why we don't have Joe Biden talking about this. Okay, so here's the deal. Last week, President Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were both asked about exactly what Tim had to say, okay? And what ended up happening was both of them remarked about, well, you know, this whole issue of there's no racism in America. Then they went on to explain it. Okay, do we have the Jim Clyburn soundbite? Okay, we don't have the Jim Clyburn soundbite. Okay, so I don't understand why we don't have all three of those sound bites because I specifically asked for them. All right, so Congressman Jim Clyburn was asked about that, and he agreed with Tim Scott on this, okay? And again, everybody and their mama upset. Now, here's what I need people to understand. So let me just sort of walk people through this, okay? So you can understand what the whole deal is. America, white America, can't handle being confronted with race in America. They can't. They can't. Of course, Biden, Harris, Clyburn were not going to say, oh, yes, America's a racist country. There's a political fallout. Y'all know what's going to happen. Y'all know. Okay, do y'all remember what happened when President Barack Obama said that the police in Cambridge, Massachusetts acted stupidly by arresting Skip Gates after determining that he lived there? Lord, the white folks and all these conservatives, Fox News, all the networks, that was the whole talk for a week. They had to have a beer summit to calm everybody down. I remember when I was on CNN. I'll never forget. I was on with Candy Crowley, and she said, well, you know, the White House, they'll tell you that if they could walk that back, they would. And I said, that ain't what I've been told. I said, the White House don't want to walk anything back. You had white advisors to Obama who were like, oh, my God, we're stepping on a landmine, and we got to walk this back. And the black people were like, hell no, that was real. Y'all, a whole week, blah, 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 blah. All this went by. Nothing can get done. So here's the deal. I never expected President Biden or Vice President Kamala Harris to disagree with Senator Tim Scott. And then Scott then goes on Face the Nation and basically was like, oh, see, they didn't disagree with me, so therefore I was right. Do we have the Face the Nation clip? Play it.
Let me ask you about your theory about race. You said America is not a racist country in your response to the president. The president has subsequently said he agrees with you. But you've also said, so there's some common ground there. You've also said to suggest there aren't racial challenges and patterns is for someone to be blind. And you've also said that the system is breaking the back and breaking the spirit of millions of people in our country. And you're talking about black Americans who are being affected by that system. So help people understand when you say it's not a racist country, but then you do talk about a system that targets black Americans. You've talked about it today. Help people square those two statements.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first, let me say, thank goodness that finally our president, our vice president, and one of the leaders in the Democrat caucus in the House, Jim Clyburn, have all come forward and said exactly what I've been saying for a long time. America is not a racist country. The question is there a lingering effect after a couple of centuries of racism and discrimination in this nation? The answer is absolutely. The question we should be debating and fighting over is how do we resolve those issues going forward? One side says, I'm going to take from some to give to others. Fighting bigotry with bigotry is hypocrisy. It just doesn't work. The second, our side, what I've suggested is let's expand opportunity and make sure that we are fully equipped for the challenges of the future. One of the reasons why we have fought for and won the highest level of funding for historically black colleges, Republicans leading that fight, is because I understand that if I can level the playing field in education, we will actually see human flourishing like we've never seen before. If we focus our attention in healthcare, as we have on sickle cell anemia, or on opportunity zones for bringing resources into poor communities.
Come back. All right, see, this is why what Senator Tim Scott just said is bullshit. He said, we fought for funding so we could equalize the playing field. Do y'all know what the endowment of Harvard University is? The endowment of Harvard is $40 billion. I want you to let that sink in. The endowment of Harvard is $40 billion. And what Senator Tim Scott said on Face the Nation and got no pushback from John Dickerson because John don't know, which is why you need more black people on Face the Nation, but Mary Hager, the executive producer of Face the Nation, won't return my emails to appear on the show. The Republicans didn't grant $40 billion to HBCUs. The endowment of Harvard, that's just one endowment. We ain't talking, that's Harvard. We're not talking Yale, Princeton, Columbia, Brown, Cornell, Ohio State, Texas A&M, University of Texas, We can go on and on and on if y'all want to. So Senator Tim Scott knows he's lying. He says we've got to level the playing field. Then you have Republicans who are in constant denial about systemic racism, which led all of these crazy Fox folks and everybody else to spend a whole week going on and on and on and on and on about there's no systemic racism, which is nonsense. I'll let my fraternity brother, Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes, take over right now.
Because Nehemiah did not allow his position to blind him to the predicament of his own people. I love that about Nehemiah. Nehemiah, in essence, is saying, my own personal success does not blind me to the social problems that my people may still be experiencing. Just because I've done well, it does not mean all of my people are doing well. I refuse to allow a Persian to say that there is no such thing as Persian racism and Persian oppression simply because you have a few Jews who are doing well here and there. I think y'all about to get this, but you have some ignorant statements being made in this nation recently, such as those who say there's no such thing as systemic racism. Why? Because they say, look at Obama, he became president. Look at the vice president, Kamala Harris. But don't you love Nehemiah? Nehemiah says, just because some of us are roses out of concrete, to use the language of Tupac Shakur, it does not mean that the concrete is still there. It does not mean that the concrete of oppression does not need to be removed. Just because I blossomed anyhow, it does not mean that people are not suffering because of unjust structures and systems. Well, my sisters and brothers, I'm loving that because Nehemiah says, I am in a position of privilege, but I want to know how my people are doing. I'm not going to protect the Persian political economy by simply saying, watch this, ain't no such thing as systemic racism in Persia. I'm not going to respond to the President's State of the Union message and deny the reality of racism simply because I'm doing well. I'm not going to protect their sensitive feelings and their Persian fragility. Y'all gonna catch this in just a moment. I'm not going to protect them and act as a clown for them by denying reality just because they're paying me to be where I am. And so, my sisters and brothers, please understand that when God blesses you with privilege, God privileges you with the platform not to blind you to the predicament of those who are suffering, but to use your privilege for those who are underprivileged. If you don't do that, Jesus said you may be on your way to hell, because that's what happened to Dives. Dives was privileged. Dives was prosperous, but the book says he was blind to the pain predicament of one Lazarus at his doorstep, and the book says that he died and went to hell. And let me say to every Tim Scott out there who is blind to the privilege that God has blessed you with, and you're blind to the predicament of those who are suffering, you better be careful, because there's a hell waiting on those who allow their privilege to blind them to the predicament and pain of those who are suffering. Kamala, don't fall for the political okey-doke. Don't deny the reality of systemic racism in this nation, because every outcome lets you know that black folk are still catching hell. We catch hell because of environmental racism. We catch hell because of medical apartheid. We catch hell because of the criminality of a justice system that is criminal and downright unjust. We catch hell because of economic exploitation. We catch hell because of voter suppression. All of that is systemic racism. All of that says America America is a racist country if you walk like a racist, if you have policies like a racist, if you talk like a racist. You are a racist.
Now, this right here was Vice President Kamala Harris appearing on ABC, Good Morning America, the day after Biden's speech to Congress.
Threats to our national security is domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists. And so these are issues that we must confront, and it does not help to heal our country, to unify us as a people, to ignore the realities of that.
What you had there was, see, there are a lot of black folks. I've gotten some emails from people sitting here saying, well, why didn't she condemn it? She ain't right. You know what? She should have condemned it. Y'all, I done told y'all, this America. Y'all, America can't handle realness. Go back. So they can't handle it. They can't. I'm telling y'all. I've said to y'all repeatedly, we are still a white-run country. Nearly 69% of the people who voted in the last election, white Americans. White Americans, a lot of them, they too fragile, y'all. They can't handle this conversation. Oh no, I'm not racist. They can't even see the racism. They can't even understand the racism. You heard Pastor Freddie Haynes run down the line. Health, wealth gap, HBCUs. We can go down. Criminal justice system, law enforcement, corporate America, Wall Street, politics, advertising, law. We can go on and on and on and on and on and show you in every single category how black people are left behind, have been ignored, have been mistreated, have been dismissed. That's why Vice President Kamala Harris didn't answer the question the way you wanted her to. That's why Congressman Jim Clyburn didn't answer the question the way you wanted them to. I guarantee you, if you had a private conversation with either one, they'll be honest with you. But white America can't handle that heat. They can't handle it. I got white folks right now on my YouTube channel. I see you, Kevin Bragg. Okay, he can't handle it. They cannot handle this. That book, White Fragility, is real. They can't handle these conversations. That's why this took place last week on Fox News, where they were just, oh my God, what, this critical race theory, oh my goodness, what should we do? Play the soundbite. That ain't it. No, play the critical race theory, the soundbite from Fox News. They had a whole panel. Discussing this whole deal. They can't, y'all, they cannot handle it. That ain't it. That's not it. They can't handle it. Laura Ingraham, all of them. Ron DeSantis, they were all on Fox News, sitting here whining and complaining. Oh my God, this is Marxist. This is not right. This is so unfair. Oh my God, what do we do? And then, y'all, they can't even admit the systemic racism. If you sat down and walked them through the stats, they would choke to death. Listen.
That we are a systemically racist country. Your reaction?
Well, it's a bunch of horse manure. I mean, give me a break. This country has had more opportunity for more people than any country in the history of the world. And it doesn't matter where you trace your ancestry from. We've had people that have been able to succeed and all. And here's the problem with things like critical race theory that they're peddling. they're basically saying all our institutions are bankrupt and they're illegitimate. Okay, so how do you have a society if everything in your society is illegitimate? So it's a very harmful ideology, and I would say really a
See, I ain't got to play the rest of that nonsense. See, y'all, because see, here's the deal. Here is Ron DeSantis sitting there. Oh, my God, how dare you? What? What? Y'all, they can't even admit the obvious. Race is a landmine. Now, again, y'all can be upset. Y'all can be mad. I know I understand. This is why Obama did not want to sit here and deal with issue of race head on. Even though he was president, had the power, didn't want to do it. Because we white folks lose their mind. That's the real deal. We're going to talk about it later with John Boyd. That's why they losing their mind right now. Oh, what? But black farmers are getting $5 billion? How dare you leave us out? I'm sorry. Did y'all just overlook the $50 billion y'all got? The $100 billion? Did y'all overlook all of that? I'm sorry. See, Ron DeSantis, he sits here and says all this nonsense about, oh my goodness, I mean, and Laura Ingraham, what? How dare they? There's no systemic, y'all, they can't even define systemic racism. Well, since y'all can't define systemic racism, this is what Bernice King posted on her Twitter page 2 days ago. I'm gonna let her daddy explain it to you.
America's opportunity to help bridge the gulf between the haves and the have-nots. And the question is whether America will do it. There's nothing new about poverty. What is new is that we now have the techniques and the resources to get rid of poverty. And the real question is whether we have the will. At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
See, that's the king they don't want to play around his birthday. So what I'm walking y'all through, and this is, let me be real clear, this is not, you making excuses for Kamala. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to explain to y'all the reality. I'm just trying to explain to y'all the reality of why you are not going to see her as vice president. You are not going to see her sit here and take a forceful position on this because y'all, white voters cannot handle this level of truth. We're trying to get Jane Elliott on. We've been having some issues. She's in Mexico, so we're trying to get her on. And we're walking through this because, see, I just need y'all to understand what's going on politically. Biden, he's 78. No guarantee he's going to run for a second term. Harris would be the natural top choice in 2024. She can't say that. Because white folks will talk about that for the next 3 years. That'll be her whole campaign. I'm just letting y'all know. You cannot be a black candidate running for and I'm going to say mainstream position, because when you represent a majority black city, a majority black congressional district, they ain't the same. It's because white voters will hold it against you, because white folk in America cannot handle being confronted with the reality of race and history, and they cannot accept that their whiteness has advantages in this society. Michael Brown, Dr. Julianne Malveaux, of course, we also have Eugene Craig. Michael, I want to start with you because, look, you serve on the DNC Finance Committee. White Democrats can't handle this conversation. White Republicans cannot handle this conversation. The operative word in both is white.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and your whole hypothesis is correct in helping to educate your viewers on understanding why people said the things they said. Now, that doesn't also make it correct, though you are correct. But it's also at some point in time, leaders have to, well, I understand the calculus and get all that, but at some point in time, leaders have to go out on a limb to start having this tough conversation that you say white folks don't want to have, or a lot of white folks don't want to have. But as we were watching, especially last summer during the Black Lives Matter protests, you know, we saw the protesters, we saw a little more diversity in the crowd. We did see white folks that were there, obviously Latino and Asian. And so we were able to see maybe a different type of person at these kind of protests that are quote unquote for, you know, black folks or black issues. So maybe it is time for our leaders to say, you know what, yes, there is systemic racism. And yes, there are also racist people in our country. I think to say that now, I think is to challenge our folks being fellow Americans, into having the conversation that folks haven't wanted to have over the last couple hundred years. And maybe it's just, you know, I know it's tight. Look, I understand the political calculus of why they said the things they said, and it may have upset some people. But at some point, maybe it's time just to say, you know what? Yes. And we have to deal with it. Clearly, people watching on the news every night, whether it's a police shooting, whether it's housing discrimination, or all the litany of issues you just checked off, clearly it's there. I don't know why we're pretending it's not.
But see, here's the deal, Julianne. This ain't for us. Hell, we know the truth. This, what I'm talking about here, this is for white folks to have to confront. See, look, when Dr. King talked about, I think, to Harry Belafonte, I think I'm leading my people into a burning building, and then was like, well, you know what, we got to be the firemen. The reason last year made a difference, let's just cut to the chase. You don't have millions and billions being set aside. You don't have all of a sudden all this money flooding into HBCUs, 90 million going to Black Lives Matter, almost 150 million going to the NAACP because black folks were protesting. What happened after the death of George Floyd is because white folks were protesting, and white corporate struck powers in America like, oh shit. Now the white folk done join with the black folk, and now we got a problem. Adidas, internally, we're talking about, well, you know, we gonna keep the 10 million. The white folks said, hell no, that ain't enough. Next day, Adidas was like, shh, oh damn, we gonna do 100 million. The civil rights people understood, Julianne, that if a white kid came up missing in Mississippi, the FBI was gonna be there like white on rice. They said because it's a different perspective when a white kid come up missing. That is America. This ain't a question that Clyburn needs to get asked or Kamala Harris needs to get asked. This is a question white legislators need to get asked to force them to deal with it because, hell, we've been dealing with it because we've been on the receiving end of it.
You know, Roland, Tim Scott played Mr. Bojangles very well last Wednesday evening. Basically, he threw some red meat into the conversation. What he said was not for us. It was to assuage white people.
That's right.
Had Vice President Harris, President Biden, or Brother Clyburn said anything like America's a racist country, imagine how many commercials people would have gotten off of that. He did what he was told to do as a good little puppet that he is and tried to start some stuff. The problem is that too many of us fell for the okey-doke. So we have to just look at this and say, let's look at the long game. As you said earlier, Vice President Harris is a logical successor to President Biden, but if she puts her fist up in the air, she's going to be caricatured just like Michelle Obama was. Let us put our fists up in the air, Roland. Let us fight for it, and let her be the vice president that we know she can be. Furthermore, on the farmer thing, I mean, white folks just don't know history. They just wouldn't know truth if it slapped them in the face. How do we go from losing 90% of Black-owned land from 1920 until 2020? We lost almost all of our land. The Emergency Land Fund, now defunct, but with their papers, I believe, at Tulane University, documented the many ways that people took our land. Black economic prosperity is a threat to white people. That's why this is a racist country, but I'll say it. I don't want my vice president to say it. So when we look at the little, and I don't say little, but the money that's been set aside for Black farmers is paltry compared to what white farmers have gotten not only now, but throughout the year.
But that's the point that, Eugene, that again, when Senator Tim Scott goes on Face the Nation, well, you know, this is about equalizing the playing field, because in the minds of white America, hey, Roland, hey, Eugene, all those things are in the past. We're now on the same playing field. You got an opportunity to go to college, so did I. There were opportunities that you had, Roland, that I had as well, as if somehow we're in the same position. Now, they don't want to factor in the credit report. They don't want to factor in the reality of I got to deal with white folks who I can't have too much bass in my voice. They got to deal with the fact that, oh, hell no, you ain't going to wear no dashiki on ABC, CBS, NBC, because the system says no, better pull on that blue suit, that gray suit, and the red power tie, because of everything in America has been decided through a white prism. And so what happens is, when this happens, and Julian's right and Michael's right, when Tim Scott goes out, he wasn't talking to us. He was trying to make his white Republicans feel good. And they can go, see, y'all, see, we got us one. And look at what he said. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, Tim. That's why we love you, Tim. That's right, Tim. But if Tim Scott had the audacity to turn around tomorrow and then tell his party, like Colin Powell did, if voter suppression is wrong targeting Black folks, I wish he'd sit his ass down. How he gonna tell us? That's why in the same speech, Tim Scott gave Republicans cover for voter suppression. That's why in the same speech, he gave them cover for that. And Tim Scott giving them cover, touting opportunity zones when they still cannot explain to any of us who is benefiting from the opportunity zones, how much money was put in, and how the people living in those opportunity zones are being impacted. No, game, recognized game, y'all.
Look, the thing is this. Tim Scott's been on this thing for a while. Look, you know, I have a lot of friends over in that office, but, you know, you got to call bullshit out when bullshit happens. You got to do it in real time. And that response to what would have been a State of the Union, President Biden's first joint address to Congress, was full of shit. Everything from from defending the racist voter suppression law in Georgia to you can in the same sentence say, yeah, America's not a racist country, but let me tell you about the racism that I experience here, even in this building in the U.S. Senate. I think folk might have forgotten about his 3-day speeches that he gave on the floor of the Senate, where he detailed his own experiences of dealing with racism, right there with the Capitol Police, right there with DC local police. And so the thing is this, we got to keep in mind that Tim Scott wants to run for president, so he's not run for re-election, and everything that he's doing is going to be gauged towards that. But this is also the same person that, you probably have to pull tooth and nail to actually support a good Black Republican candidate, but we can talk about that a different day.
See, I need our people not to get caught up in the okey-doke. Because, see, I've seen people, matter of fact, some dude sent me an email today, and Roland, Kamala Harris agrees with Tim Scott. She's a traitor to those who voted for her. Blacks on the internet mad as hell. That's because y'all ain't paying attention. You ain't paying attention. Again, let me say it again for the folk in the back who clearly can't hear. In the 2020 election, of the total number votes cast, white voters represented 69% of all votes cast. That means Native Americans, Latinos, Asians, Black people made up the other 31%. So if you're running for president, you're going to have to make white people real comfortable. So Harris is not going to say, oh, yes, America is a racist country. Tim Scott later, there are pockets of racism. And see, I think some of y'all that get confused. You can't run for statewide office as if your district looks like that of Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Hello.
Or Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That ain't America. So she has to make a political decision. And now, let me help y'all out. Guess who could say it and speak truthfully? Joe Biden. Why? Because he white. He a white man. Y'all, it is what it is. What I need us to do is to understand the nuances of these games and understand how they are trying to use. Let me say this right now, then I'm going to have three of y'all comment. I need y'all to understand, as well as all them ignorant ass other black folks who yap their mouths on YouTube, they want to use us against Harris so they don't have to do it. That's why if I was asked the question and I was Vice President Kamala Harris, or if I was Congressman Jim Clyburn, and they said, Vice President Harris or Vice President Martin or Congressman Martin, do you agree with what Senator Tim Scott had to say? Roland would have said the average white family in America has 10 times the wealth that of African Americans. I would have brought the point Julian made up, how African Americans have lost 90% of the land that's been accrued. The number of black banks that we had in 1900 was far higher than what we have in 2021. I would have talked about how black people died more than anybody else proportionally when it came to COVID. Show me a particular stat, whether it's cancer, breast cancer, or anything else. I will show you black people is at the top of the list when it comes to those being most impacted. I would have shown you who are most impacted when it comes to police abuses cases in America. Black people. I would have just ran down a litany and I would have said, so if Senator Tim Scott would like to work with me to address these systemic issues, I'm more than happy to take his phone call. What's your next question? See, y'all. See, Michael, what happens is this is the game. I keep telling everybody, this is why I rarely call somebody a racist. They want the conversation to be about, is America racist? Not racist. Scott says not racist. What do you say? I can't say racist, so I got to go because white people are so, no, I got to say not racist. No. Well, they don't want to talk about stuff in between. So when Tim Scott says on Face the Nation, well, I work to level the playing field. That's when an actual informed anchor, sorry, John Dickerson, you don't have the data, would have said, I'm sorry, Senator Tim Scott, can you tell me what is the collective endowments of all of America's HBCUs? And do they even represent 10% of Harvard?
There you go.
See, Michael, that's how you respond. You don't play racist, non-racist. You play what's actually happening and force them to talk that conversation. Go ahead, Michael.
Absolutely. And it's interesting enough when Dickerson asked him that question, Roland, I thought of you because I thought you would ask a different kind of follow-up than he did, or that he didn't, which was, well, if you have to level the playing field, doesn't that mean there's a problem?
Boom!
Because it would have been better just to say, no, there's no systemic racism. Everything's fine, and we'll do what we can, and we'll just keep moving forward. He didn't say that.
Boom! In fact, I need y'all to queue up. I want y'all to queue up. Go past Scott's initial response, and then I want y'all to play the follow-up of John Dickerson. Michael, go ahead.
After the
No. They're getting it ready. You go ahead and finish your thought.
Okay, got you. No, I pretty much finished it. Again, as soon as he said it, I was like, wow, that's interesting. Well, if you have to level the playing field, doesn't that mean there's an unbalanced, not a level playing field, which means racism, systemic racism? And it was just unfortunate that Dickerson, A, let him filibuster, didn't interrupt him to correct him, and didn't lay down the litany of things that we've all talked about on the show tonight.
All right, y'all let me know when the clip is ready. Julian.
People didn't hear the whole of what Vice President Harris said. She said we were not a racist country, but we had racist foundations. She talked about that. So it's easy to take that first sentence and say, oh, she said it wasn't racism. She agreed with Tim Scott. But she didn't agree with Tim Scott. She was doing what she does best. She's a skilled prosecutor, a skilled, basically, speaker. She knows how to basically dance around landmines. Tim Scott threw a landmine out there, and she avoided it. Now, those black folks out there who are mad at her, just be mad, y'all. Just be mad. It's unfortunate that not only what I'm afraid of, Roland, or I'm not afraid of, but what I'm concerned about is those of our colleagues and our friends who are not well informed, who may use this as a way of saying, I'm not going back out to the polls in 2022, because 2022 is essential. Joe Biden laid out a key, just a really brilliant speech on Wednesday. Scott didn't even answer it. He just went on to La La Land. He mentioned abortion. Biden didn't talk about abortion. But what Harris said, she talked about our foundations, and you can't deny those. And so let's not say that she agreed with Tim Scott. She basically parsed his answer to basically serve her purposes.
But again, what he gave was the bumper stick answer, and that's what they all ran with. Go ahead and play the clip, please.
But when you say one side is talking about taking from one side to the other, I mean, this is, people pay taxes, and there's an argument that the taxes that are paid should go to communities that we've seen, especially under COVID-19, have been disproportionately affected, and that's laid bare a lot of the inequities. So you're not saying that making sure that there's money that goes to those black communities is a bad thing.
Well, John, let me say it differently. When you pass a COVID package with $2 trillion of spending, and in your package you hide in there, if you are a black farmer, we will give you resources, but if you are a white farmer, you're excluded from those same resources. That's taking from one to give to the other. It's one of the reasons why in the 1990s, the USDA had to pay out the Pickford settlements to black farmers for taking from them to give the white farmers. So we're going to reverse that and call that a way of creating fairness in our country? That doesn't really work.
right there, Eugene, you heard, to Michael's point, how John Dickerson was grossly unprepared for the comeback. And even on that particular point, if Senator Tim Scott, see, there's a reason Senator Tim Scott has been refusing to come on this show. Because that point right there, I would have destroyed his ass on that one.
Look, I mean, John Dickerson was definitely absolutely unprepared for it. But one more time, even in that case, if Face the Nation would have to deal with their own racism, that they perpetuate, that'll cause some problems for them. And look, you're not going to see Tim Scott or Burgess Owens or Byron, step on this show and address these issues because their typical Republican talking points would get absolutely destroyed and blown up and tossed out the window. They have to actually deal with actual specifics, and we deal with specifics. There's no other argument other than that this country perpetuates systematic racism by virtue of the institutions, by virtue of opportunities, and by virtue of outcomes. That's an argument and discussion that almost none of the Black Republican electors want to have, because then they have to look in the mirror and say, okay, what am I actually using my perch to do to deal with these issues, rather than figure out how can I stand the good graces of the former president and those like him.
I want to bring in Nicole Hannah-Jones, of course, the creator of the 1619 Project in right here, because all of this dovetails us perfectly what she's been dealing with in response. Of course, all these people being so upset. I mean, these white folks are really bothering themselves by the 1619 Project, because I keep telling y'all, white folks in this country are so fragile. They can't handle history, but they can only believe his story, okay? They can't handle anything else. That's why you have now Senator Mitch McConnell trying to attack her and telling the Department of Education, don't you dare include the 1619 Project in any federal grant programs in this country. Nicole, we've been talking about, of course, the comments made by Senator Tim Scott. And then even right there, when you heard him on Face the Nation trying to say, well, the reason we had the Pickford decision was because money was being taken away from Black farmers to white farmers, and now we're trying to reverse that? No, Tim, we're trying to still deal with the inequities from the Pickford decision, because even that wasn't enough, and you would think a Black man from South Carolina could understand that. But no, instead, he's simply tap dancing on the dance card of the Republican Party.
Well, I think that Representative or Senator Scott does get it. He certainly understands, coming from his roots, that Pickford was about redress for discrimination. But this is something that it's a tool we've seen the Republican Party use really since the end of the Civil Rights Movement, when you could no longer legally discriminate against Black Americans. The tactic then became to claim that redress for discrimination is equivalent to discrimination, that if you actually are trying to undo the harms of discrimination, that is just as bad as discrimination. And you've seen the Supreme Court make similar rulings, for instance, in Parents Involved, where it said, programs to try to help desegregate schools were just as bad as programs that segregated schools. So I don't believe that he doesn't know what he's talking about, but he's sticking within the talking points of the Republican Party. And it sounds, I was just going to say that the reason it's effective is, of course, it framed that way does sound unfair. Well, why should white farmers not be able to get something that Black farmers get? But the truth is, we know if you steal something from me, you having to pay me back is not unfair to my neighbors who aren't getting any money, right? That's not how it works. But it sounds like it sounds good, and that's why they say it.
But this was the precise game played when you had the Republicans like Ward Connolly, who led their anti-affirmative action memorandums. So they would draft language where you would go, well, of course not. I wouldn't want somebody to be discriminated against because of their race. So therefore, I'm going to support this without realizing. In fact, I'm from Houston, and the late Mayor Bob Lanier, what he did was he made them change the language on the ballot to reflect what it would actually lead to. And they were mad as hell. That's why it got defeated in Houston, because he said, no. That language not going to fly because we're going to put the actual intent down. And so you're right. Senator Tim Scott knows exactly what he's doing. And so he wants to sit here and provide the cover because he's running for re-election. And so he wants, he wants to get re-elected. He needs to play up to these white Republicans in South Carolina in order for him to win the primary because he knows if he gets out of the primary, he's going to win in the general. And so he needs to be called out. But this is also why, and again, John Dickerson, fine, you're a nice journalist, but you're grossly unprepared for that question because, as Michael said, the comeback should have easily been. So if you have to level the playing field, that means it's uneven. Senator, how did it get uneven? Now you got to force him to say, so why are you having to provide funding to HBCUs? What exactly happened where they are grossly underfunded? Senator, please tell me what's the endowment of the largest HBCU in the country, and does it even come close to the top 100 largely white institutions in America? He can't answer that question. Now all of a sudden he's stuck.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you see so much opposition to the 1619 Project. It's because when we talk about issues of racial inequality, whether it be economic inequality, whether it be inequality in education, inequality in the criminal justice system, inequality in the treatment of Black farmers, if we can just pretend that today is today, and we have no past. Nothing created this. There's no long history and legacy of legalized discrimination. Then we can use that rhetoric of equality without actually having to do anything to address the inequality. So if you actually have to grapple with the past and all of the institutions that really conspired to keep Black people in the lower caste, then you are charged with having to do something to rectify the current inequality. So we have to kind of exist in this space where the only thing that matters about our past are the good things, and all of the bad things about our past are irrelevant to the society we live in today.
That's why I played it. That's why I've been laughing because all of these folks on Fox News and conservative media, they've been going on and on and on. Oh, critical race theory and there's no systemic racism in America, and they're going on and on and on, and you're sitting there going, so y'all just want to act like all these facts just don't exist, so it just so happened that Black people proliferate the criminal justice system. That thing just happened. That's just on y'all. Y'all were just born criminal, and that's why. Oh, the health disparities. Oh, no. Please, racism in medicine had nothing to do with that. In fact, that's going to be our next conversation. How this white doctor treated a brother who went to the hospital. She's like, yeah, you want some narcotics, huh? I mean, Nicole, the reason Black people initially were not addicted to opioids is because white doctors would not prescribe opioids because they said, yeah, they just here trying to get a high. And guess what? They ended up hooking white folks on opioids.
Yes, absolutely. It's the one time where being discriminated against has actually saved our lives for a brief period of time. So, of course, that's not the case anymore, and Black people are now also being ravaged by the opioid crisis. But I think what this just speaks to, in general, if you were to ask, I don't even know how Republicans discovered all of a sudden critical race theory because it's been around for at least 2 decades. But if you were to ask them to list a primary text of critical race theory that they've read, if you were to ask them to actually give examples of how critical race theory operates in our society, they couldn't give those examples. They haven't read the text. They don't actually know what it is. But it's become this, I don't even like to say part of the culture wars. It's become this part of this effort to really stoke white resentment.
Oh, no, that's
that
all
Republicans
it is.
are leaning into.
Oh, no, let's be
and
real.
we shouldn't call it culture wars.
No, it's not a culture war.
That's not actually what it is.
No, it's not a culture war. Here's the deal, and this is real simple, and this is why Mitch McConnell is attacking you, the 1619 Project with the Department of Education. This is just the facts. And this is why I need all the Black people who are bitching and moaning about what Vice President Harris had to say to understand what's going on here. This is very simple. Stock market, jobs report, major bills being passed, highly popular with American people, President Joe Biden's approval ratings high. What they need, they desperately need white conservative evangelicals and college-educated white people to be so enraged with wokeness, cancel culture, critical race theory, 1619 Project, black farmers getting $5 billion, and then they trot out Senator Tim Scott. What they need is they have got white people. They're coming after our way of life. That's why I'm dropping a book next year called White Fear. That's all this is about. And so we got to understand not to get caught in their game.
Yeah, I think that's critical. And I'll be honest, early on when the project came out, I was getting caught in that game. And then I came to realize that we cannot allow ourselves to be baited into having arguments that don't serve the work that we're trying to do, that this is strategic. You know, the very same people who were outraged for, 2 weeks over the Dr. Seuss estate saying that it was no longer going to print books that were racist are the same people who are applauding efforts by Republican lawmakers all across America to prohibit the teaching of the 1619 Project, to make it illegal to teach ideas that they don't like. So we have to understand really what the actual strategy is here so that we can push back against the correct strategy. Having arguments about cancel culture, about culture wars are really useless. We have to stop using euphemisms and call this out for what it is.
Oh, absolutely. So that's why anytime I see any of these people, in fact, you got to understand, literally right down the hall from me is Bob Woodson, who came out with that, whatever that 1776 thing or whatever the hell that thing was. And I was like, Bob, that crap ain't gonna fly. And so you can sit here and have these white folks, white conservatives, prop you up, and talk about we need to have personal responsibility in our neighborhoods. And I was like, when I had him on the show, well, Bob, what happened when we were personally responsible, yet we still broke? Yet we still have no investment in our neighborhood. We still have crappy schools. So what do we then have? See, they don't want that conversation, which is why the response has to be, no, let's talk about exactly what's happening. So we're not going to get caught in the racist, not racist conversation. And that's the trap they want to set for us. And my deal is you got to be smart enough to not fall for it. That's why I think as people, and again, I'm not, y'all, people know I went after Obama on a lot of stuff. I'm not covering up for Vice President Harris. She could not answer the question the way a bunch of us probably would answer the question, because she knows she's the one who might be running for president one day. And guess what? White folks vote.
Well, and she's the second highest ranking official over United States of America. So the expectation that she is going to say that she is helping to run a racist country it's not a realistic expectation. We understand that politicians have their role, and those of us who are not politicians have our role, and we as journalists have a role to tell the truth. That's not necessarily the same role that politicians have all the time. They have to speak to their constituents. I think that we have to really think about where all of these conversations are going, right? When you look at the 1776 Commission, when you look at the 1776 Project, it's trying to get us to debate systemic racism.
Right.
Systemic racism is not up for debate.
Right.
The proof
We
is
ain't debating
there,
that.
right? The data, the sociological research, like we know that it exists. So to me, I'm not going to debate the existence of something that we already have proof of. And that's what they want us to do. That's why, as you said earlier, focusing on whether this person is racist or not, I'm completely disinterested in whether individuals are racist or not. I am interested in whether they're passing policy that has a racist impact or a racial impact. And so we can't allow other people to define the parameters of a conversation, particularly when it comes to things like systemic racism, which have already been proven.
It's simple as that. Nicole Hand-Jones, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, we're talking about, again, when you talk about the realities of what it means to be black in this country. Watch this video here that took place in an emergency room in a hospital in America. This actually happened, y'all.
He wasn't playing basketball when he has it, and when he's going around, when he has these and he's throwing up and he's going in and out of consciousness. I literally saw him go in and out of consciousness.
He is completely awake and alert right now.
He is, but if he leaves this hospital, he's going to have another anxiety attack just like that one because he's in the same shape that he was in when he came in.
Sure, and he doesn't have Klonopin because he doesn't have his Klonopin.
That took 4 hours to get through. So what was I supposed to do?
I'm sorry, sir. You were the least sick of all the people who are here who are dying. Okay. There, so you picked your head up. Now, don't try to tell me you can't move. Come on, sit up.
I can pick my head up.
Yeah, sit up. Sit up.
Dude,
sit up. Sit up. I'm having you sit up.
I can't get up.
Kizzy, he needs to sit up, and he won't let me.
She's literally yanking my arm to get up.
I'm literally helping you up.
You're helping me? I can't get up. I can lift my arms to this extent.
You want us to wheel you to your house in the gurney?
That's not what I said.
You just lifted your head just fine.
Yes, I lifted my head and my arms up to here. After that, I cannot
put your hands on here and pull yourself up.
I cannot do that.
Yes, you can.
I cannot do it in the ambulance. I cannot do it now.
You can do it now.
I just tried to inhale, and I even told her I could not inhale.
You can't inhale. Wow, you must be dead. Are you dead, sir? I don't understand. You are breathing just.
I mean, this is not right because I'm telling you. When you see him, he is breathing. He has labored breathing.
He's not labored in the least. He's got an oxygen saturation that is 100%. He is breathing perfectly normally. This is not labored breathing.
So you're just saying that you just let him lay down in here and he's going to go back to normal. This pain that he has doesn't have anything to do with what's going on with him, right?
This pain that he has is because he worked out.
No, when he went to the emergency room the last time he had pain.
And what did they do for him?
They gave him fluids and they gave him something, a pill. I don't know what they gave him. Yeah.
For what?
For his pain and for the anxiety.
So you need narcotics? Is that what you need?
Oh, here we go. Narcotics. Did I say any narcotics? I just need pain reliever and anxiety medication. Because I'm in pain and I have anxiety. And I said nothing about narcotics.
And you just told me that this was not an anxiety attack, that this was something totally different.
If I could get up off this chair, I really would. But
yeah, you really should, because this is ridiculous.
I can't, and you're not going to keep tugging. I'm full of shit.
He is.
And I'm sorry because, I came in here wanting to help you, and you're turning your story around. You're changing your story. Yes, you are. You're making all different kinds of, you're saying one thing and then you're telling me another thing, and then you go back to the first thing.
Like you.
So sometimes here's.
Huh?
Like you.
So sometimes.
What? I'm not saying any. I'm not changing anything.
You're not?
No. I'm not saying anything different than what I've said the whole time.
Like me.
No, you have changed your story every time.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's how pissed off you've gotten me, okay?
I didn't do anything.
Yes, you did. So, put an IV in him, give him a liter of fluid, and we'll get him out of here.
All right, folks. Now, the video you just saw is actually 3 years old. This took place in 2018. Dr. Beth Keegstra was working at a hospital in El Camino, California. And so she was suspended as a result of this. But this has been circulating on social media, and it's illustrative of the reality of what black people face even in medicine. Dr. Dan Fagboui is a pediatric emergency medicine specialist. He joins us right now. Doc, glad to have you. And again, even though this is 3 years old, you heard us just talking about what happened with opioid crisis. Black people were told, go take Tylenol, go take Advil, when white folks were given more powerful painkillers because white doctors were thinking, oh, they trying to come here and get high. And so racism was in the play. So when you hear Senator Tim Scott and you hear all these white conservatives run around and say, oh, there's no systemic racism, there is systemic racism in the health field, the law field, the engineering field, the architecture field. We can go on and on and on. It's in the DNA of America, and it has dire consequences in health.
Correct. Well said. I mean, thanks for having me, Roland. It is an example of bad, poor, ridiculous bedside manner. That's just one. Let's call that what it is. Racism exists everywhere. I mean, yours truly also. I mean, these are some of the reasons a good number of us medical professionals, black medical professionals, have left academia. We want to call it what it is. But this is an assumption. We see this with a lot of patients who come in with sickle cell into the emergency department. And they come in with complaints of pain. And the assumption is that maybe they're drug seeking. And that is not to say that there aren't some patients that do, but you have to give the patient the benefit of the doubt and not make assumptions. And this patient was definitely, clearly berated. This is not bedside manner. This is not the way we practice medicine. Fortunately, not at some of the institutions I've been have I seen any of my colleagues do such things, colleagues who are not white or colleagues who are black. Regardless, this should be, no patient should go through that. But then even more so, we shouldn't sweep this type of racism under the rug.
Now, look at this headline here. Beyonce, guys, go to my computer. Beyonce, Serena Williams open up about potentially fatal childbirths, a problem especially for black mothers. That is happening right now. The large number of black women who are dying in childbirth, the medical community needs to explain this because that's just not natural.
No, it's not. And that's another sad story. Another in the laundry list of things that are wrong with the system. And until we start to address the core of the system and we point our own fingers to our own selves where we do that examination, what is it about the system? They even showed literally black babies born to black doctors who took care of them actually do better. I mean, these are recent data that was recently published. So we have seen this information. We know this information. It's just sometimes gone silent because, especially as you're a trainee going through the process for the young medical students and the residents going through training programs where they experience all this, they really have to sit in with the system to try and suck it up so they're not looked at as a weakling. They have to be 2, maybe even 10 times as greater as their other counterpart to even be able to present themselves in that way. We all have tried to address those issues, but it's a difficult fight. The system also has to be dismantled, and it's not just the medical profession, as you mentioned.
Julian, your question for the doc here. I mean, this is, again, why shows like this matter, Julian, because if we're not driving these questions, if we're not raising these issues, let's just be real clear. It ain't going to come up on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS on a regular basis.
You know, I appreciate what the doctor has said, and I also think we need to think about, there was a study, which I'm sure he's familiar with, it was done about 20 years ago, but by the Institutes of Medicine, and they found that a black man going to an emergency room with a broken bone, hear me, with a broken bone, was half as likely to get a painkiller with a broken bone than a white man. And this is a very old study, but I think if we updated it to today, that would not be any different, given what's been said about opioid use. The fact is that racism is part of the cake that we baked when we made America. And you can't unbake the cake, but you can turn it into crumbs and start over. And so when we look at this in medicine, we also have to look at the paucity of African-American physicians and nurses. We have to look at the underfunding of Meharry Medical College, of Morehouse College of Medicine, Howard University Medical School. We have to look at the many ways that Black folks are basically denied access, often don't have the assets, and then they are, I call the 3 A's, access, assets, and attitudes. And they are confronted the attitudes that come from physicians and others, health professionals, who are simply full of bias. So when they see a Serena Williams, they don't see Serena, they see a Black woman. They see Beyonce, they see a Black woman. You know, I've had interesting instances that I won't share, where, you know, once I was asked, did I have my welfare card? Moi, a welfare card. I'm like, really? Start to knock that woman in the next week. But fortunately, I kept my temper. But
Doc,
I mean,
No, Doc, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that
Doc, fact, go ahead. Doc, go ahead.
The biases that they're in are just baked in, and we're fortunate to have brothers like this and so many others, the National Medical Association, others, really frontally fighting this.
Yeah, so I mean, so you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what we deal with, and I do think the percentage of Black physicians, about 5% of the population, that's ridiculous, and we need to increase that number. But those biases are already planted, literally. The patient was being accused of drug seeking. He said he had anxiety. And there's some patients that fake, but that's not what we do. That's not how we practice medicine. So you definitely see the difference is clear. So how do we address that? That means the American Medical Association has to address it. That means hospital systems have to address this. That means healthcare systems have to address this. Inequities, they need to be on their boards. They need to be on their C-suite levels. They need to be promoted in terms of academia and on impact in medical school. So there are lots of reasons and funding for education to support that. Even at the high school level, as we start to funnel them into the health and allied healthcare professions. There's so many ways to start to address this. But it's not being addressed, and it's falling on deaf ears, frankly. And we've had many debates on Twitter about this, many debates in articles. You remember the racist comments that were made recently. If you're not familiar, please, it's all out there. So it's a struggle. We're constantly dealing with it, but it's not just us. It's everybody, and America has the time to make some changes. And hopefully that'll happen soon. I'm hoping.
All right, Dr. Dan Fagbui, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. We'll thank you for your insight. All right, folks, got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll talk with John Boyd. Why are white folks so upset over the black farmers getting $5 billion in the COVID relief bill? Really? And white nationalist Stephen Miller is helping the white farmers sue the federal government over it? I'm sure John has some interesting thoughts about that. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Black women are fierce, brilliant, courageous, dope.
Black women are making a difference, making history, and changing the world.
I think about all of the black women who have showed up to fight for justice.
We are starting to finally accept all the skills and talents a woman can bring to the table.
Urban One, thank you. This one is so special.
Are you trying to say that as of January 20th, that President Trump will be president?
That depends on what happens on Wednesday.
President Trump won this election.
You think the election was stolen?
Absolutely. At this point, we do not know who has prevailed in the election.
This fraud was systemic, and I dare say it was effective.
This is a contested election.
President Trump won by a landslide.
Hold them this way.
The outcome of our presidential election was seized from the hands of voters.
We have to make sure that they look into what has been the theft of this presidential election.
Joe Biden lost and President Trump won.
Whatever happens to President Trump, he is still the elected president.
I would love to see this election overturned.
No one believes that this guy got 80 million votes. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right.
No ragtag group of liberal activists will be allowed to steal this election.
The president wasn't defeated by huge numbers. In fact, he may not have been defeated at all.
Over the next 10 days, we get to see the ballots that are fraudulent, and if we're wrong, we will be made fools of.
Well, folks like white supremacist Stephen Miller are not happy at all that black farmers got $5 billion in the COVID relief bill. So he's joined with a group of Midwestern farmers to sue the federal government. They claim they can't receive COVID-19 loan forgiveness because they're white. According to the lawsuit filed by farmers from Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and South Dakota, President Biden's stimulus plan violates their constitutional rights. The American Rescue Plan provides $4 billion in loan forgiveness for socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers who are Black, American Indian, Hispanic, Alaskan, Native, Asian American, or Pacific Islander. The U.S. Department of Agriculture issued the following statement, quote, "We are reviewing the complaint and working with the Department of Justice. During this review, we will continue to implement the debt relief to qualified socially disadvantaged borrowers under the law." John Boyd is the founder and president of the National Black Farmers Association, joins us right now. So, John, what do you make of the white farmers being so upset and hot and bothered by all of this?
Well, I'll tell you, Roland, thank you for having me. And we must be doing something right. And here we have what's proven in history. White men filing suits against black farmers receiving money. And that's what they've been doing throughout history. They stole all the land from Indians. They stole the land from blacks. They supported sharecropping and slavery and all these awful Jim Crow laws. And now we're sitting here in the year 2021 where white men, white farmers don't want black farmers to get a dime. And so far, Roland, we really haven't gotten any money. So they really put the cart before the horse yet. You know, the monies have not even been dispersed. And I've been urging the Agriculture Secretary to get those payments to black farmers, the debt relief, swiftly and quickly as possible. But as I speak to you, not a dime has went to black farmers and other farmers of color. And it shows the hatred, the bigotry that still exists in agriculture. You know, you're sitting there talking about discrimination. One of the most racist industries in the United States is the agriculture industry. Here we have an agriculture secretary of Texas where 8 out of 10 loans were denied to black farmers on average in this country, and he's filing suit against black farmers. So what kind of help is he offering black farmers in the state of Texas? Probably nothing.
What do you say, again, we played the clip earlier. Did you see this Senator Tim Scott on Face the Nation where he called it reverse racism that you guys are receiving, the black farmers are receiving this, as if he's completely clueless to the history of black farmers, and then said, well, Pickford, that decision was to fix black farmers not getting funds. This is reverse racism.
Well, here's the issue that Tim Scott and the other senator from South Carolina have. They need to really check themselves here, Roland. All of the money, just about 99% of $500 billion went to white farmers in the United States from taxpayer dollars. So here we have a mere $5 billion just scratching the surface, and they've gotten $500 billion with a T. And now they're sitting here talking about reverse discrimination. My question to Tim Scott is, how many times do white farmers get paid? They've gotten all of the money, all of the years, all of the decade, and all of the time. And we are the group that's been totally excluded based on all of the numbers, all of the statistics, from land loss to the lack of loans to the lack of presence at federal offices in the United States of America. These folks are lost, and they really need to check themselves and look into history. Look in the history of the United States of America, and it shows what I'm saying is factual here.
Eugene.
There we go. Hey, can you guys hear me? Appreciate it.
Now we can hear you.
Good to see you, Brother John. I guess my question is, one of the things I think we probably can do as a community is support these black farmers and, intentionally buy produce from black farmers. Do you guys have like a portal or a e-commerce website where you can able to connect black farmers with product directly with consumers, where we can just grab directly from black farmers and help keep our black farmers alive?
Absolutely, and we want to connect those from local areas. Please look at our website, nationalblackfarmersassociation.org, and become a member. We need to be connected, and we need to share this information and knowledge and wisdom right now. And this is a very, very important time in history. For the first time, we're actually going to get, hopefully, $5 billion, $1 billion to go to technical assistance and outreach to do some of the things that you were asking a question about. That hasn't been set up yet. So I believe in the coming months, maybe when I come back on road and I have more information on how these programs are going to be rolled out. But until then, we need support. The National Black Farmers Association needs the support of Black America to speak out and support us in this fight. I'll probably wind up filing something in court in the coming days. And I reached out to the Justice Department to look at this rinky-dink lawsuit here, is what I'm going to call it. And we'll probably wind up filing something in court as well, some sort of injunction of some sort. But we need the support from the Black community to speak up about this terrible injustice that continues against America's black farmers. And we've lost the land. We've lost so much in this country. And we're going to fight back. I'm going to fight back, and I'm going to continue to fight back. It took us 30 years to get this debt relief to black farmers. And I want people to ask them, the senators, to reach out and support Cory Booker's bill, the Black Farmers Justice Act bill. That's another way that they could help us. There's an additional fundings there and to return the lands to black and newer beginning farmers in this country. So we're making some headways, and these people are mad about it, but they weren't mad about slavery. They weren't mad about Jim Crow, and they weren't mad about stealing all the land from Indians and from blacks in this country.
Michael.
Mr. Boyd, have you, black farmers, how do they do with being vendors to the Whole Foods, Harris Teeter's, Vons, Kroger, Giant, Safeway, you name it? Are they able to compete with those grocery stores where a lot of obviously people of color shop? And maybe that's one of the ways where black folks the consumer can be helpful, is to say, are you getting from, what kind of farmers are you getting your produce from?
Absolutely. And that's the type of effort that needs to happen, where corporate America simply isn't doing enough, in my opinion, to partner and contract with black farmers. I've been seeking that out to companies like PepsiCo and others to actually issue contracts to black farmers that, where they have a footprint and presence. I'm working on a deal now with Walmart that may pan out to do some good things for black farmers. But I also want to remind people of how bad some of these companies have treated black farmers, such as Monsanto, where we filed suit against them. And also John Deere, we're looking at maybe having some legal issues there where they refuse to service black farmers, tractors and combines, and they come when they get ready. And white farmers in this country get same day service. That's the type of blatant discrimination that black farmers are still existing right now as I speak to you on this show. So that was a great question, and urge all of these companies to do business. And where you're spending your dollars, especially in the food industry, ask them, do they have any contracts with black farmers?
Julian, question for John Boyd.
First of all, Mr. Boyd, thank you for your work and for your persistence in raising this issue about black farmers. Now, when President Obama was in office, Tom Vilsack was the Secretary of Agriculture, and he was not the most easy person to deal with for black farmers. However, he's been reappointed by President Biden. What's your thought about that? Has he been more malleable, or is he still sort of the brick wall that he used to be?
Well, as you know, and me and Roland actually spoke about this on his show, we weren't excited about Secretary Vilsack going back to USDA, and I told him just last month, he said he wanted to listen and learn. I told him he should have listened and learned under the Obama years, and he should get the payments out to black farmers within 30 days is what I asked him to do. But the president had a Zoom call, and he asked me to support Secretary Vilsack coming back to the Ag Department, because many of us didn't like that issue or that thought. I was more excited about Marsha Flood, someone more progressive, and that would to do more with black farmers and expand our avenues there. But we got Secretary Vilsack; he's there. I'm going to try to work with him to make sure that these payments get out to black farmers just as quickly as possible. And the president said, if it doesn't work out, reach out and let him know. And I plan to do just that if he doesn't do what he says he's going to do. So we're going to give him a chance, and he has to show us this time. It's not the black farmers showing him anymore. Now he has to show us, what he's going to do to advance the ideas and concerns of black farmers and other farmers of color in this country.
All right. John Boyd, let us know how it goes. Any help we can give, we're always there for you.
And listen, Roland, I want you guys to come down to my farm and visit my farm in Virginia sometime. So that's an invitation for you and your whole cast.
Hey, I'll come. No, first of all, where's your farm?
It's Virginia, North Carolina border. It's in a little small township called Boydton, like my name, slave name, Boydton.
So how far is it from D.C.?
It's about 3 hours dead south of D.C.
All right. So I think what we'll do is
road trip to me.
I think we might take a road trip because I haven't ridden horses in a while.
I'm with it.
So I need to do that, and so maybe what we'll do is we'll get the Mobile and actually broadcast the show from the farm this summer.
Absolutely, love to do that. And again, thank you, Roland, for staying on top of this issue because you were one of the first journalists to put it on your television show back in 2009, 2008, when Black farmers wasn't getting any airtime. So thank you again for staying on top of this issue.
I appreciate it. We're going to keep staying on top of it, John. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with the author. Sure, I'll be your black friend. Note from the other side of the fist bump. That is next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
The lonely, the alienated, the sad, and the angry. In every country torn by strife, violence, and hardship, men and women are drawn to extremist leaders, promising to take on the enemies of their people. In America, some of our lost souls respond in a similar way to the call of influential voices. But instead of militant preachers or radical clerics, every single night in America, they can listen to our own angry advocates of division and conspiracy. Confused, angry people hear the call of these voices and take on the camouflage of warriors to threaten and even kill civilians. The radicalized Republican Party and the twisted people on TV who speak for them use the very same language of intolerance and rage to provoke those alienated people, actively pouring kerosene on the fire of social unrest. And until we all reject these poisonous voices, the result will inevitably be escalating violence and tragedy.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you're watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Stay woke.
In Florida, recently passed voter suppression law is making it harder to vote by mail. Senate Bill 90 passed Thursday night, making it harder to use mail-in ballots and significantly limit the use of drop boxes. The major changes include drop boxes will only be accessible during early voting hours, same as in Georgia. All boxes are required to be occupied by an election office employee to be used. That's stupid. What's the whole point of the box? Drop box locations can't be changed within 30 days of an election. And instead of requesting a ballot for the next 2 general elections, requests can only be made for the next general election. This is what Republicans do when they are in power. In Texas, a Texas deputy sheriff is out of a job after a video showing him punching and yelling at a black teenager was released. The Harris County Sheriff's Office terminated Deputy Burt Dillow for violating several department policies, including the use of force during an altercation at the gas pump on March 26.
Run from? Give me your ID.
Do you hear that? It's the sound of the Ameritrades Education Center working smoothly behind the scenes to curate its own content.
Don't run from me, or I'll beat your right here. Turn around and put your hands behind your back before I beat you out of here.
Information.
Don't be stupid.
Head over to tvameritrade.com/education.
What did I tell you? Turn around and put your hands behind your back. Roll over. All I was going to do was talk to you. But now...
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up.
Dillow was initially placed on administrative leave after he was accused of punching and cursing at the teen. He joined the Harris County Sheriff's Office in 2008. Grand opening, grand closing. In Chicago, an oversight agency has finished its investigation into the botched police raid where officers forced a black social worker to stand naked and handcuffed. For 16 months, the Civilian Office of Police Accountability reviewed nearly 100 allegations of misconduct stemming from the night at a dozen Chicago police officers barged into Anjanette Young's home. Y'all roll the video, please. The report found Young stood handcuffed and naked in front of the all-male group for a total of about 10 minutes. However, Young's lawyers says it was over 30. The agency sent its report to Chicago Police Department Superintendent David Brown, who is up to 90 days to recommend charges against the officers. This is the sort of nonsense, the misconduct that we keep seeing, Michael, that, again, until folks are fired, until they are truly disciplined, it's not going to change. Can't hear you. You're on mute. There we go.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of these videos, I thought that you would have on your crazy white people segments because people are sound like we're getting fired and suspended. I don't know. Roland, it's until the yes, policies need to change clearly within these departments, but until the courage comes, and you and I talked about this ad nauseum. Until the actual laws change relative to, I know what they're discussing on Capitol Hill, Karen Bass and Senator Scott, relative to the police reform bill. Oh, and Senator Booker. Until, there's actually laws that change, and I'm not suggesting that that'll even stop it, but at least you have, these folks have to give second thoughts when they're doing something, to think about their own personal well-being relative to their futures, economically, career-wise. If they don't have to worry about that at all, and there are no consequences at all relative to their career, to their own economic circumstance, these kind of things are going to continue. So policies have to change within these departments, and then the actual laws have to change, which means courage from elected officials taking on the police unions, which is extremely difficult.
Look, that's what it boils down to. But at the end of the day, that's what the George Floyd Justice Act is critically important, Julian, that it has to pass the Senate because you've got to be able to have true police accountability in America.
Roland, I need you to take a reel of the crazy-ass white people, add to that, and send it to Tim Scott, so that maybe he can see this stuff up front. What I was reminded of, both with the sister being forced to stand nude and with the young man being beat on, it reminded me of enslavement. It reminds me of what people felt they could do during enslavement. So while we talk about all this progress, we also have to talk about, and sisters will take it personally, the humiliation of having to stand in front of a room full of men, butt naked. But that's what they did to us when they put us on the auction blocks during enslavement. So Lori Lightfoot in Chicago has to do more. But we've got to do more everywhere. It's not just the George Floyd Act. It's, as Michael said, it's the swift firing of these people who do not know how to respect people. With that young man, it didn't have to go down like that. Nor did it have to go down like that with the sister. These people just need to be fired and maybe give them a job, picking cotton at John Boyd's farm.
Eugene?
Look, the thing is this, right? I'm not a believer in mandatory minimums except in like one case, and that's when you have police misconduct, police brutality, and violation of rights. Look, I think that you need these bad officers have to be fired. These bad officers have to be prosecuted. And look, I think you got to do two things, right? I think that you probably got to go in and break up the police unions. These, bad officers are being protected by a shield that they should be protected by. But secondly, you have to punish the minor, minuscule violation of rights. You start doing that, the big stuff won't come about because they'll be too terrified to do something as much as, as violate your right to not be illegally searched that, they won't come around and feel like they put their hands on you because they know that if it's so stringent for the minor violation, the major violation is going to lead to a much harsher punishment.
Absolutely.
That's the same principle they put in place with us, right?
I agree. At the end of the day, how they are ticky-tacky with us when it comes to laws, be the same with them when it comes to their behavior. All right, time for our book club. All right, folks. How many times did y'all see the show like Friends and others where they always had that one black person, you know, who was the black friend? A new book provides an instruction manual on race with subjects like things you should probably not say to your black friend. The author of the book, Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend, Ben Felipe, joins us right now. Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
All right. So what was the basis of you deciding to write Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend? Did you find yourself in a situation where you had lots of white friends and it was just you?
Yeah, multiple times in my life. I guess my story is that I was born in Haiti, and then we moved to Canada, which kind of explains the accent. And then after that, I moved to America. But again and again, I found myself in, white spaces. And the thing is, when you're a kid, you're not your most politically active self yet. You just want to fit in. You just want to be the kid who's not eating lunch alone. And so I had to learn to sort of fit at those tables, to be friends with tables full of 20 white people. And I was a black friend. So it led to a lot of good life experiences, interesting conversations, messy conversations too. And I figured, I think I could write more about this.
So how often did you find yourself having to explain to your white friends black stuff?
Fairly often. I think because I'm an immigrant and I wasn't sort of raised in African American culture. They ask me fewer sort of questions about how, hey, black people in America, how do they think? But I think they often turn to me for permission. They're like, hey, man, so that's not racist, right? We're friends, you and I. I'm just not cool with my sister dating a black guy. That's not racist. So I was the guy that they would come to for permission to have that opinion.
And, okay, so when those things happen, you were sort of like, did this fool actually say that?
That's the thing, though. I had no one to turn my head to. You're at a...
No, but see, that's when you turn your head to an imaginary black person. Did this fool just say that? Okay. So when it happened, were you silent or did you say, are you stupid?
I would, honestly, if I'm being real honest here.
No, don't lie. Be honest.
When I was younger, I would try to smile through it. I'm like, well, you and I are friends. I believe you're a good person. You kind of learn those platitudes. I believe you're a good person. I believe you're a good person. But eventually you get no, man, that is so messed up. That is so messed up that you would turn to me to say that and that you would expect me to just nod along and smile at that sort of world perspective. So it started to take a toll. I think the book sort of not deviates, but it grows along with me from smiling through it to realizing I'm so tired of smiling through it and figuring out how to answer those questions.
So did it get to a point for you where you just said, I'm tired of giving white folks cover. So, and did you go all the way hard where, so how's this? Hell no, don't do it. It's stupid. You're a dumbass. Next.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, they would start to feel foolish. If you summarize the exact conversation to them, back to them, they're like, oh, crap. Yeah, I'm really, really sorry. I'm like, yeah, that's not okay. We're going to keep talking about it until you kind of understand how wrong that is.
So why stay friends with him?
Sorry?
Why stay friends with him? Or no, first of all, why stay friends with him? Or were there some where it was so much racism, you were like, you know what? Yeah, I'm out. You and I can't vibe.
Honestly, I think it's half and half. I think some people, when they're just asking no questions because they don't realize how messed up it is, I'll explain it to you once. And if you hear it, if you understand it, if we can sort of move forward, we can still be friends. We can still be cool. But if you're going to play devil's advocate, which a lot of people in this world love to play devil's advocate, then it's that point where I just have to be out.
Questions from my panel. I'll start with you, Eugene.
So,
because I'm sure Eugene, being a black Republican, he's very familiar with Sure, I'll Be Your Black Friend.
No, we won't play them games. That's in that category of games we just don't play. but we will play the swerve and curve game. Look, because there should be no expectation that I'll be a black friend to justify some of the BS that comes out of some of these folk mouths. So I guess I know you talk about how to be that black friend, but what are some of the tactics that you might use to swerve and curve out of some of those situations that are just like flagrant and over the line?
Just checking out of it. It's difficult to sort of. I think for me it was an exercise for myself to realize that like that person's acceptance, that person's quote unquote friendship, with all the quotation marks, wasn't something I needed in my life. So that tactic was just, if you can't see me as a human being, if you can't see me as a full person, if you can't actually see the problem with the thing you just said to me after it's out of your mouth, then I'll just remove myself from that situation. I think there's a lot of power in just removing yourself from those situations, from those sorts of connections and friendships, because then in the few instances I'm thinking about, people just don't have that sort of crutch of saying, I have a black friend. You espouse opinions about black lives and now you no longer have a black friend. So I think it wasn't always easy, to be honest, to sort of cut off friendships and just be really disappointed in people you thought I really thought you were on my side. I really thought we were in this together, and sort of realizing that and having to take a step back. But yeah, for me, a lot of the times it was taking that step backwards.
Julian, question for Ben.
But what's the most outrageous thing that a white person has asked you or said to you that made you the angriest? I mean, they have all kind of stupid stuff to say, and sometimes, I've had people ask if they could put their hands in my hair. No, not unless you want to pick up your teeth. But what's the most outrageous thing that anyone has asked you or said to you? How did you handle it?
The one that sticks with me the most to this day, and I had the hair question before, but like those were all small offenses compared to last summer, where I was the black friend that a few people would be like, don't you think they're going a little too far, removing like the Confederate statues? Don't you think that, this is getting a little too messy? I'm like, no, I do not. I do not think it's enough. I think this world is so exhausting for black people in America that it needs to change. It just can't go on like this. But I think that was the hardest one, to be honest, last summer, when people were expecting me not to be angry or not to be on the side of Black Lives Matter. To me,
Michael.
It's three people.
Michael.
Hey Ben, how do you tell? First of all, congratulations on your book. How do you tell the difference between a racist white friend, or wouldn't be a white friend if they're racist, but hopefully you understand what I mean? A racist white friend and a white friend that's just ignorant. How do you determine? Well, I don't want to be their friend because they're racist. That's easy. But do you not want to be their friend if they're ignorant? And if they are ignorant, what do you do about it?
That's a very good question. I think that's what I spent a lot of my life figuring out, like that line between the two. And it comes from having a conversation. Like, you just said the thing you just said. An example would be, that white friend who's just not into black chicks. You get it, right, man? I'm just not into it. It's not a race thing. It's not for me. Okay, once you say that to me, I can tell you, yo, bro, we have a problem, because I don't know where you think I came from, but it was very much a black woman. My family is filled with black women. No, that is a huge problem for me. And if you want to have a conversation, I can be understanding, of course, that like you grew up in a town where you had no minorities around you, where you were just sort of raised to believe that's normal. So we can have a conversation. I'm ignorant about many things in the world. So we can come to a common ground. But if you're going to start to not fight me, but argue me on the basis of my own humanity, then that's just, there's no path forward.
Got it. Thank you, Ben.
Folks, the book is Sure I'll Be Your Black Friend. Notes from the other side of the fist bump. Did they even get the fist bump right, or was it difficult trying to show them the high five?
It wasn't easy. I'll say that. It wasn't easy.
I don't know. First of all, my last question: did you get your own black friends to give you to decompress from your white friends?
Yeah, that was like honestly the biggest. Not to go on too long, but that was like the biggest change in my life was when I sort of like when I was a teenager. I met other black people. I found a table of people who were like me, who were like, oh boy, this fool's been raised by a lot of white people in his life. I was like, yeah. So let's just decompress. Let's just be safe together for a while. And I have friends of all ethnicities, but that was a blessing.
Well, I'm so glad you got a chance to meet some black people, so you would not have PTSD with all those clueless white folks. All right, Ben, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
4 years ago, radio host Maria Moore started Empowered Fitness, a virtual fitness program for women. Since then, the company's helped more than 2,000 ladies collectively lose over 10,000 pounds. The program combines balanced nutrition, exercise, behavioral change, and group support to help women look and feel their best. Joining us right now is behavioral change specialist and, well, as personal trainer, Maria Moore, Empowered Fitness. Maria, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing good. So, what makes this so different and unique?
Man, I think the main thing that makes the program different and unique is that we have a very strong focus on habit change. So you see a lot of different diet fads out there. There's keto, there's low carb, there's vegan. But we really try to make it a full comprehensive program that primarily focuses on self-care and habit change, because that's how you're going to achieve sustainable progress. So women don't come into my program and, lose weight immediately and then they're out. Many of the women that I coach, they stay with me for years so that they can work through those habit changes and kind of rewire their brains to get used to the new lifestyle.
So are you saying that really what you're dealing with is it's in many ways when it comes to lifestyle change, how you eat, how much you eat, all those things, it's actually more mental than anything else?
Absolutely. I think that people really underestimate how big of a deal habit change is. Your brain is wired to do a series of things, right? So first you have a trigger, then that trigger creates a routine, and then here comes the reward. And so I think that's how people get caught up in bad habits, and the same way you get caught up in bad habits, you can reverse those habits and turn them into good habits. But things as little as, having your water bottles out on the counter, creating a routine to where you don't have your phone charging right by your bedside, so you're not tempted to look at it so that you get enough sleep. So we go over self-care, we go over the importance of drinking water, of getting rest, of having balance. So inside of my program, the nutrition aspect of it isn't super strict. I have what we call treat meals. We don't call them cheat meals because cheat indicates you're doing something wrong. And there's nothing wrong with having a slice of pizza or some French fries every now and then in moderation. So the program is really about balance.
Questions for my panel. I'll start with Julianne. Julianne, Maria Moore.
Maria, how do you change habits? I mean, what's the technology of habit change? I've been told that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So what's your thought on that? And how do people approach it?
It's definitely longer than 21 days. Actually, there was a recent study that said it's more like 66 days. And so I'll use the pandemic as an example. When the pandemic started and there was this huge shutdown, 61% of Americans say that they have gained significant weight since the pandemic started. And a lot of that has to do with changes in routine. And so you see that happened over the period of a year, a little bit longer than a year. So in order to change those habits, it's just simple things that you have to do day in and day out. When you initially learn something and you do that thing over and over again, it becomes a routine so that you do it mindlessly. Like, have you ever been in a situation where you're not really hungry and all of a sudden you see a bag of chips and you just start snacking? That is something in your mind, a routine, a pattern that your brain has created because there was a trigger that caused you to do that thing in the past. So it really is about doing those things, like I said, leaving the water bottles out on the counter, making it a routine to meal prep on Sundays, you know, pulling out your schedule and dedicating time to get active. You know, on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I'm going to do this type of exercise, but it is a cycle that you have to repeat over and over and over again so that it becomes second nature. It's easy to lose weight really fast, but you have to create repetition for it to become a habit.
Michael.
More. Good work, by the way. Congratulations on the great work you do.
Thank you.
What's more, besides, of course, the obvious answer, it's combined, but what's more important, diet or exercise?
Diet.
Diet, absolutely.
Like
absolutely the food. You know, I see women all the time, and even, you know, I've had a lot of husbands. I've had a lot of spouses of the women in my program. And you know, when you're married, like, you know, the husband is going to eat what the wife is cooking, so they're kind of losing weight by default because they're eating the meals on the meal plan, which are very delicious, by the way. But I've seen, I had, for example, one lady in my program. She was breastfeeding. She barely exercised, and she only focused on her diet, and she lost 50 pounds in 3 months. Wow. You know, versus people who are trying to out-exercise, the extra cupcakes, the cookies, the late-night snacking, and they're barely breaking even. So the nutrition is going to be the key part, especially if you're deconditioned or, you know, you have some type of injury that you're dealing with. If you really want to see some significant progress, I would say definitely primarily focus on nutrition.
Eugene.
So tell me more about these treat meals. So what are some of these treat meals that
says the guy who was damn near was in a diabetic coma in his 20s.
Oh my goodness.
So tell me more about these treat meals and how often can they be injected into the system?
Yeah, so you know, I tell people that, you know, when you look at it overall, weight loss, weight gain, weight maintenance is really about calories in and calories out. Right. And so I think the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to a treat meal, because ain't nothing wrong with a treat every now and then, is that they eat it during their sedentary hours. So inside of my program, we do strategic treat meals where, you know, I tell the ladies in the program, enjoy your treat meals for breakfast or for lunch, because those are the hours that you're going to be more active. You know, every now and then, if you're going out on a dinner date, you can have a treat meal in the evening, but you can have pancakes with real syrup. You know, you can have a sub. You can even have a slice of pizza. But the whole idea is to make sure that you're eating that food when you're active so that your body burns those calories as fuel. Because if you have a treat meal when you're sedentary, you're not moving around as much, your body ends up storing that extra food as fat. So it's really about the timing. That's going to be the key for your treat meals. But yeah, you can definitely enjoy pretty much anything without going overboard, you know, because sometimes we eating and our bellies are saying, Uncle, stop, I'm good, no more room down here. So you definitely have to listen to your body. But have that treat meal in the morning or in the afternoon. So
you're saying eat that treat meal while you're walking around your living room. That way you're moving.
Yes. As long as it's not too close to bedtime.
All right, go. So Eugene, you can go and get that 3-piece from Popeyes. Just be sure to walk. Be sure to walk around while eating. Yeah, be sure to walk around while eating. Maria, where can people get more information? Because I see on Instagram here you got. So go to my computer here. So it's Empowered by Maria.
Yes, Empowered by Maria, and it's just the letter M, Powered by Maria. You can also visit my website, mariamore.com, and make sure you put 1 O in the more. So it's MARIAMORE.com. And there's all types of information there about my programs.
Okay, so I see the Empower one, but then there's also the Maria Moore on Instagram as well.
Yep, Maria Moore on Instagram, MARIAMORE.
Okay, all right then. Well, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. One more thing to tell you. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
And for me, the reason I see the value, so my parents worked elections. They volunteered for campaigns. They ran phone banks. I remember being 7, 8, 9 years old. It was like you had no choice. It's not like you had a vote. It was like, yo, go over there, for the next 8 hours, stand there and hand out these pamphlets to anybody who's walking in, and then we'll bring you lunch, and then you got some water for yourself. It's kind of like, okay, again, that was what wasn't likely my brother could say, nah, we're all right, we're gonna stay at the house. Nah, it didn't work that way. And so for me, that was a huge part of my upbringing.
And look at you now. And it's very interesting because for me, service was a huge part of my upbringing. And that's just something that's just, you know, it's a natural thing. I don't think twice about going out and doing community service. I don't think twice about giving up my Saturday mornings, even if I stayed out late on Friday nights. I don't think twice about going to church in the mornings. I think that might be even bigger than the civics piece in schools. I mean, I think that at this point, having that in schools at least gives the children the opportunity to go home and ask their parents, so Mom, Dad, what is this? What do you think we should do about this? This is what I learned in school today. Let's talk about it. At least gives the children something to bring home and start a conversation with. However, if the parents start that for the children, then, you know, then the children can go to school and say, hey, why am I not learning this here? Why don't I have a civics class? You know what I mean? And we'll have more Roland Martins running around here.
Hey everybody, it's your man Fred Hammond.
Hi, my name is Brescia Webb, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ow. Well, I like a nice filter usually, but we can be unfiltered.
All right, folks, got some big news for you. I am returning to TV One. Okay, no. My show is staying right here. I am not, so I was there for 13 years. Of course, there when Jonathan Rogers had that initial meeting with Alfred Liggins before they even launched the network. So a couple months ago, Kathy Hughes reached out to me, of course, founder of Radio One, now Urban One, asking me to actually co-host with Erica Campbell, of course, the Urban One Honors. And so I agreed to do so. So on May 16th, it is going to air on TV One and Clio TV. Here is a snapshot.
Black women are fierce, brilliant, courageous, dope.
Black women are making a difference, making history, and changing the world.
I think about all of the Black women who have showed up to fight for justice.
We are starting to finally accept all the skills and talents a woman can bring to the table.
Urban One, thank you. This one is so special.
All right, folks, it's a huge night, of course, and so all the honorees are women, and so it's going to be a fantastic show. Unbelievable artists performing, DeBrat, Leandria Johnson, of course, Avery Sunshine, and so it's going to be phenomenal. Trust me, y'all do not want to miss it. So again, it's going to take place on May 16th, 2001. Urban One Honors presents Women Leading the Change. Trust me, folks, it's going to be 2021, my bad, May 16th, 2021. It's going to be a phenomenal show. You don't want to miss it. They're going to have at 8 p.m. Eastern, their DMX Uncensored. And then, of course, Urban One Honors is going to air at 9 p.m. Eastern, so you do not want to miss it. And so I appreciate Kathy Hughes asking me to come back to host it. I had a great time with Erica Campbell. We both of us were co-hosts, and so we had a lot of fun shooting the show, taping it in Atlanta, and so I think y'all are going to enjoy it. So I can't wait. And so, yes, I cracked out the TV One golf gear that I made Lori Hall get me for this announcement. And so, again, I'll be back with the TV One folks and on the sister network, Clio TV, May 16th, 2021 for Urban One Honors. So put it on your calendar, set your DVR, and you definitely want to check it out. All right, folks, that is it for us. I had some other stories we were going to cover, but I'm going to have to push those to another day. But you know what? Let me go ahead and do it. Since Michael, I can tell he really misses the Crazy Ass White People segment. So roll it.
Girls are allowed.
I'm white. I got you, girl.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey!
You don't live here.
I'm uncomfortable.
A cell phone video taken by a witness shows parts of a confrontation between a 35-year-old Julie Worland and an Amazon driver. Y'all, seriously? Kendall McIntosh says he was finishing rounds delivering packages in Berkeley when Warren and her boyfriend racially profiled him. They accused him of speeding through a neighborhood, following him to a nearby street, yelling racial slurs, and attempted to prevent him from driving away. Really? Roll it. Y'all, it's crazy. Y'all, it's absolutely nuts. Big ass Amazon truck. They can't figure that out. Y'all, Roland faces charges of suspicion of false imprisonment, battery, using offensive words, and willfully threatening a person based on their appearance. Michael, it's a big ass Amazon truck.
I have no comment.
It's a crazy ass white people.
Seriously crazy ass white people. Roland, where do you get these people from?
Huh?
Where do you get this? Where do you get this shit from? Excuse my language.
I don't get them anywhere. They're in Senator Tim Scott's America.
Who sends you these things?
They're all out there. Michael, go ahead.
At least that person kind of turned their phone correctly. I know that's your pet peeve when they don't turn it right.
Well, no, they actually still didn't do it right because it wasn't full screen.
Oh, they didn't do it right.
But guess what? I have another one. I need y'all to roll the crazy ass white person stinger. Roll the stinger. Roll it. I got one more.
Girls are allowed. I'm white. I got you, bro.
Illegally selling water without a permit
On my property.
Whoa! Hey!
You don't live here. I'm uncomfortable.
Crazy ass white manager at Doc's Foods and Spirits in Georgia asked a black woman to leave the restaurant because she wouldn't let a crazy ass white woman run her fingers through her hair.
Tell me why I'm leaving.
Because you're being aggressive, and
because this woman touched my hair, and I told her to keep her hands off me. Because you said so. And you didn't say anything to her, but you want me to calm down.
You won't stop, will you?
I won't. No, I won't. I will not.
So the black woman got to go because she objected to some white woman she don't know touching her hair. That's not a wise move, Julian.
I ain't got no hair.
Oh, like I said,
we got to fight.
I truly don't play it. But the worst of it is that the use of the word aggressive when you're talking about black women basically reduces to if you stand up for yourself, you're aggressive. So this sister totally entitled to say, "Get your hands out my hair." And the manager.
I'm hanging up though. Is that okay?
That's so well, first of all, I see Michael ain't got no hair, so he don't want to comment on this segment. But
I don't have that much, but that which I have is mine. Do not put your hands in.
Michael, I don't understand. Michael, you ever hear anybody's white go, "Hey man, let me touch your bald head"?
When I was younger, that occurred more once and twice. Yeah.
That's an ass whooping right there. Eugene, final comment.
Listen, you can try to touch this. It is hands on sight. Anybody can get these hands.
I don't understand it. All right, y'all, that's my final one. Michael, Julian, Eugene, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, if y'all want to support us at Roland Martin Unfiltered, please do so. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is real simple, to get 20,000 of our fans or more to contribute at least $50 or more. If you don't have it or less, that's fine. To support what we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. We've got some amazing things that we're doing. Just know this weekend we're going to be heading down to Elizabeth, North Carolina, broadcasting live Friday. On Saturday, we'll be live streaming the march, the massive march taking place with regards to Andrew Brown. He was laid to rest today in North Carolina. Of course, there's going to be a big march for justice in his case on Saturday. We will be there. Next Wednesday, May 13th, we're going to be in Baytown, Texas, broadcasting live there, live streaming that rally for the first anniversary of the sister who was shot and killed by a Baytown police officer a year ago. And so your dollars goes to support what we do. Travel, that costs money, having crews, all that sort of stuff that goes with it. And so we want you to support what we do. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered, Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com or Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much, folks, for joining us. So much news today. We couldn't get to everything. We had some serious technical issues getting Jane Elliott on the phone from Mexico. We will be booking her on the show soon. I can't wait for her to talk about what Senator Tim Scott has to say. Folks, that is it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.